Today we embark on a journey into a language, or perhaps 3 dialects, or even 3 languages that were spoken in North America long before English, a language marked by intriguing complexity in every facet. My name is Julie, and welcome to the Sioux language. I've just started the video and I already need to correct myself. Referring to this language as Sioux may not be entirely accurate. The term Sioux originates from the Ojibwe word Natowesiwak, translating to little snakes. This was how the Ojibwe referred to the Sioux, indicating a less than friendly relationship between the two nations. French traders adopted the term without understanding its meaning, shortening it to Sioux, a name that endured. However, the Sioux themselves identify as Lakota or Dakota, and this corresponds to the 2 main dialects of the Sioux language. Lakota has 2,100 native speakers and is spoken around the western part of the Sioux territory, including areas in North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Montana, and some of the Canada. And Dakota, which is further split into Western and Eastern Dakota dialects, has around 200 native speakers and is spoken in the eastern parts of these states. There has been another mix-up with the names. The Western Dakota dialect used to be called Nakota, but now Nakota refers to another 2 Siouan languages, but sometimes Nakota is still used for Western Dakota, and all of this is very confusing. All of these 3 dialects are mutually intelligible. The main differences are in their vocabularies and maybe accent, though sometimes Lakota and Dakota are still referred to as separate languages. This is where the term Sioux comes in handy if you want to refer to all of these dialects together. The words Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota mean the same thing, friend or ally, which is of course a much nicer name than little snakes. No offense, snakes. Another way to refer to the Sioux is Ocheti Shakowin, 7 council fires, for the 7 tribes of the Sioux nation. Phew, explaining the names was not that simple already, and we are not even at the grammar yet. But let's see first, how did the Sioux language develop? Let's explore more complexity in the history section. When we're trying to link Native American languages into families, we encounter an issue. There are a lot of different language families in the Americas, and so far we don't know how most of them relate to each other. There are 2 general approaches. The first one suggests that according to genetics, there were 3 main pre-European migration ways into America. The last one were the Inuits, the one before them were the Nadini people, Navajos were one of them, and the first one was everybody else. So all of the languages that are not Nadini or Inuit are grouped into the Amerindian macrofamily. Another approach is the opposite. All of these small language families have absolutely no relation. The truth is somewhere in between, but we just don't know exactly where. Sioux is included in the Siouan-Catawban language family. Most of the languages of this family are severely endangered or extinct, with Sioux currently being the largest living language. Another language of the Siouan family that you might have heard of is Osage. If you've seen the Killers of the Flower Moon, then you know what I mean. If you haven't, watch it. Tracing back thousands of years, the Sioux inhabited North America, adopting a nomadic bison hunting lifestyle with the introduction of horses in the 17th century. The Sioux became master horse riders and established themselves in the plains. This is especially true of the Lakota. While the Dakota remained primarily semi-nomadic, they even cultivated things like squash and beans. Throughout the 19th century, the Americans were biting off more and more Sioux territory. It was a bloody period for the Native Americans in the US, and for the Sioux in particular, with wars being struck, treaties signed to be broken immediately afterwards, especially after finding a gold mine right in the Sioux sacred mountain. Immigrants and gold miners pushing more and more, new wars, new battles. 1890 was the year of the infamous Wounded Knee Massacre, the largest mass shooting in the US history, which killed 300 Lakota. After that, Lakota signed a final peace treaty with the US government, and they were the last native nation to do so. Dark times didn't end for the Sioux though. In the 20th century, they and other Native Americans were subjected to forceful assimilation, through which they were discouraged from practicing their cultures and speaking their languages. This practice was halted in the late 20th century, but the damage has already been done, as out of 170,000 Sioux, only 2,300 speak the Sioux language. There have been revitalization efforts recently, but for now the future of Sioux language is unclear. Now let's explore how this language is spoken, and I can guarantee even more intrigue and complexity ahead. Prior to the 19th century, Sioux used pictographs to transmit a message. Pictographs are symbols which basically represent the word itself. And it was enough, as most of the abstract concepts were passed on orally. With the arrival of Christian missionaries, various alphabets based on the Latin script were developed. Several are in use currently, but this is the one that seems to be the most used. Sioux has a great variety of vowel and consonant sounds, so great that I don't even know where to start. Let's start with vowels. Sioux has a set of 5 regular and 3 nasal vowels, like in Lawang. Notice, by the way, the accent mark on the which indicates stress, and pitch accent, which gives the stressed vowel a higher tone. Now to the consonants. Sioux has sets of vocalized, unvocalized, aspirated, and the most interesting, ejective consonants. That's when you do something like ta or paw. You stop the burst of air while pronouncing the consonant. Sioux also has quite a few uvular consonants, pronounced from the throat, like Lakota. Yes, I've been pronouncing it wrong the whole time. Or Tratranka, buffalo. Sometimes sounds can even have a symbolic meaning. Compare Z, yellow, J, tawny, and Ri, brown. In this example, the deeper the sound, the more intense and darker the word. When it comes to phonetic variations between Lakota and Dakota, they are actually quite similar. The biggest difference is that Lakota has a sound L, but Dakota has the sound D instead of L. But you might have guessed that already. Another interesting observation is that despite this diversity of consonants, there are no R sounds. Overall, these ejectives, uvulars, nasal vowels, pitch accents all make up the unique sound of Lakota and Dakota. But let's listen to the native speakers, and you decide how it sounds like to you.
Washtenahan, taku e kila na wichakielo. Washichu kila na unshikapi na ha. O hakni se chapi. O chaos washichu wanji in schnala shante de insia unya hantashi nunishnielo. Ogana wowa kan yo haseche. I wan blaka ekta washichu la omaki. Wowi chak jigla ka okihi seche.
Chante waste hokshila lagi estima han he beke waste weyoye Chante waste hokshila lagi estima han he beke waste
Hoina hiupsa hohe, nahan on kita kuea wonspe, wa unspe mit kotkokap. Ocha henale mila haskatha wokunsa naha otkhawolchingle na Johanna ta le waka le ahani le wakas kokha.
Now we're passing to probably the most complicated aspect of the Sioux language, the grammar. In Sioux, verb is the main part of speech, and often a complete phrase can be made of just a verb. Here's an example in Lakota. Amapre. He is waiting for me. The pronouns don't act as separate entities, but are integrated into the verb. Here, both subject and object are included into the affix ma. If we wanted to inverse the sentence, I'm waiting for him, we would get awapre. Lakota doesn't have grammatical gender, so it's actually I'm waiting for him or her. Sometimes, though, there is differentiation in the gender of the speaker, especially in interjections or in greetings. For example, hello would be how if said by a man and han if said by a woman. Lakota does differentiate animate and inanimate things. The previous phrase could also mean I'm waiting for them, as in some inanimate things, but if you are referring to people or animals, then you'd say awichavapre. The affixes that indicate subjects and objects can be inserted in multiple locations of a word. Unkani prepi, we are waiting for you. See how affixes are almost melted into the verb. And this table indicates which affix should be used in which case. The verb is so important that adjectives are actually verbs too. So when we saw the example of z, yellow, it is more correct to translate it as to be yellow. Here's the phrase, blekin tro, the lake is blue. First of all, we see that the definite article kin is after the noun, and the word blue, tro, is in the end and means is blue. And yes, it also means that the word order in Lakota is SOV. The verb is so important that even a noun could be a verb. Tratran kapi, they are buffaloes. This phrase consists of just the noun buffalo, which functions as a verb, plus the corresponding affix from the table we just saw. Now let's see a longer phrase. Vichinkalakin, hokshilakin, tehila. The girl loves the boy. Literally, girl, the, boy, the, she loves him. The subject is first, followed by the object. The definite articles are after the nouns, and the last word is structured according to the conjugation still from the same table. I mean, we barely scratched the surface because so many meanings can be sewn into the verb. The cause of an action, the beneficiary, reciprocity. There are prefixes that indicate how exactly an action was done. In the cutting motion, by hitting, by kicking it with foot, etc., etc., etc. All of these things that in English we would indicate by separate words or even phrases are transmitted with affixes within just one verb. There are not that many tenses though, only present and future, but Sioux language concentrates on giving so much detail on something else instead, on the nature, the way, and the direction of action. Sioux people have been fighting for a very long time for their land, for their culture, and for their language. Because of how fiercely they were opposing the American government's pressure on their land in the 19th century, a Native American character from Hollywood westerns is basically a quite flat and inaccurate stereotype based on the Sioux culture. Today, the Sioux are once again fighting for their language. Revitalization efforts with immersion classes, camps, and schools are giving results, and more young Sioux are learning the language of their ancestors. And this gives hope for the future. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in our next exploration.